Hi
Hi
guys.
guys! Today we'll be delving into an interesting topic. Because now we're actually in June, so typically in June the property market is a bit on the slower side. A lot of people are having their holidays, school holidays, so a lot of the parents are actually overseas. But what's happening in the third quarter this year, or after June, it will be a mad rush because there will actually be 5 projects in the core central region that will likely be launching. Some of you might already have heard of it, seeing advertisements online and whichever. But basically, they are Upper House, which is at Orchard Boulevard. We've also got the Robertson Opus, which is at Robertson Quay. And then we have River Green, Promenade Peak, which is at the River Valley or Great Wall area. And then lastly, we have W Residences, which is at the CBD. So what we'll be doing today is that for these 5 projects, we will be rating these 5 projects based on certain attributes. Okay?
So we'll rank them based on their location firstly, and then the developer, and also their layouts, their rentability, and lastly their exit strategy.
And we'll be giving them ratings based on 1 point until 5 points. 1 point being the lowest grade, and then 5 points being the highest grade for each development. So what we'll be doing is at the end of this discussion, we'll just give a rating, final rating for every one of these projects, and then we'll see how things go.
So as of now, we are just rate them based on the preliminary information that we have on hand. So once we have more information on each project, we'll delve deeper into a discussion of individual projects.
So stay tuned to the end of our video to see our final verdict.
Okay, so now we'll talk about the location. Firstly, we have Upper House. This is actually right at Orchard Boulevard MRT station, Thomson East Coast Line. So literally right at the MRT station, I think it's as close as you can get lah. Yeah. Then in terms of primary school, we have nothing within the 1 kilometer radius, but in the 1 to 2 km, we have Alexandra Primary, River Valley Primary, and also Queenstown Primary. So all these are very decent primary schools. So for malls, we actually have Tanglin Mall, which is the closest. It's just less than 300 meters walk from Upper House. And Tanglin Mall actually is quite full-fledged in terms of the amenities in the mall.
They have a supermarket, they have a lot of bakeries there, a lot of restaurants, Wine Connection. Basically, not the biggest mall, but of course, basically what you need is over there. And I think for people staying in Upper House, this is the primary mall that they'll be frequenting. Compared to the rest.
Yeah, I think nearby there's also Forum and Claymore Connect, and also things like Orchard Towers. But not as much amenities compared to Tanglin Mall, and they're also further away. So in terms of hawker centres, the nearest one will be Zion, but there's also a bit of a distance, slightly more than
1.4 km away. So I doubt people will really be walking there. Yeah, more like taking MRT than walking, probably.
So for Upper House, we rate it a 3.5 out of 5. I think distance to MRT is perfect, but in terms of proximity to primary schools, there's nothing within the 1 km radius.
So I think in general, the fact that it's right next to the MRT is really the undisputed advantage for Upper House. Of course, some people may not be looking for amenities so close by. Maybe they prefer that Orchard Boulevard is a bit more quiet. But today for our ranking system, we're just basing it on other things like amenities as well as the primary schools within 1 km to 2 km. So 3.5 rating.
Okay, so next we have Robertson Opus. This is actually the former Robertson Walk, under Fraser's. I think previously there were a lot of F&Bs and restaurants there. Very nice environment for people to hang out and chill.
I think it's very rustic. I think most people, they will remember the Wine Connection over there.
Yes, correct. So for this location, in terms of proximity to MRT, it's slightly less than 300 meters walk to Fort Canning MRT. Other than that, there are also other MRT stations within 1 km, but slightly further away, like Clarke Quay and things like that. For primary school, within 1 km, we have River Valley Primary. And within 1 to 2 km, we have quite a number of primary schools, including St. Margaret's, Cantonment Primary, ACS Junior, Zhangde, and as well as Alexandra Primary. So all these are pretty good schools in general. For within 1 km, we also have quite a few hawker centres. I think the more famous ones are the People's Park Food Centre as well as the Hong Lim Market.
But they're actually a bit far away, so around 800 meters away. So I don't really think many people will be walking there on a day-to-day basis. But in general, for the Robertson Opus, actually at the bottom of Robertson Opus itself, there'll be lots of shops.
Yes, on level 1.
As they rebuild the place. And I think surrounding the Robertson Opus or in the Martin Place area, there are lots of cafes and amenities. So that's where people will probably be having their lunch and dinner every day.
I think the nearest mall is also Clarke Quay Central. quite a number of amenities there. In terms of like supermarket, we have Don Don Donki, Cold Storage and things like that. So still within walking distance, I think 500 meters, but not as close as some people may prefer lah. Yeah. So for overall, we'll give it a 3 out of 5 for this development.
So next up we have River Green. So River Green is it's a project that probably a lot of people are looking at because it's actually the closest to the Great World City area. Yeah, in fact, if we're talking about distance to the Great World MRT or the Great World City itself, it's about 140-meter walk, which is just a less than 2 minutes walk. You're right there at Great World City, and I think in general, ever since the mall was redeveloped and refurbished, right, a lot of people have come to revisit Great World City. So now you got a really big supermarket, you got the butcher there, you got lots of other amenities and restaurants within Great World itself. So. Yeah, I think it's become more alive as a result. So in terms of the primary schools, we are looking at similar ones. Like River Valley Primary is definitely within 1 km. And of course, within the 1 to 2 km radius, we have Alexandra Primary, Changde, St. Mark's, as well as ACS Junior. Yeah, and then in terms of the hawker centres, I think this one will be a very strong point because Zion Riverside Food Centre is within just a 370-meter walking distance. I think there's a lot of famous and good food. So this one I think is quite an undisputed advantage for this particular area if you are a foodie. Yeah. So of course, in terms of the malls, we as mentioned, Great World City is within 200 meters walk, and of course we also have other malls like Valley Point and all these. But in general, if there's Great World City right in front of you, you don't need to go to the other malls.
Yeah, everything is there at the mall.
Okay, so in general, I think for River Green, location is is the strongest out of the rest. So for River Green, we'll be giving it a 5 out of 5 rating.
Okay, so next up we have Promenade Peak. This is in the same vicinity as River Green, but there's a slight differentiation in terms of the location. Because for River Green, that is considered under Core Central Region, whereas Promenade Peak is actually rest of Central Region, though they are very close by lah.
Yeah, I think this is a thing that not many people know. It's actually a boundary line that we will share. But basically, Promenade Peak technically is in the RCR region. So for those people who may be a bit picky about technicalities, this may make it a bit weaker compared to River Green because maybe I want to say that I stay in the Core Central Region area, but actually Promenade Peak is in the RCR. Yeah, so that would be some difference between River Green.
Yeah, but in terms of the amenities and things like that, Promenade Peak is also about 200 meters away from Great World MRT and also 300 over meters from Havelock MRT. So it's situated between the two MRT stations, whereas River Green is much closer to Great World MRT. Yeah, so for primary schools, also similar to River Green, within 1 click we have River Valley Primary. Okay, 1 to 2 click we have Alexandra, Changde, as well as St. Margaret's.
Of course, in terms of the malls and the other amenities, it's similar to River Green. Because Great World City is just slightly further from River Green, but it's still within 4-minute walking distance.
We're slightly closer to the Zion Riverside Food Centre as well.
So basically Zion Riverside just a shorter walk, and of course, we also have Tiong Bahru Market or Tiong Bahru area very nearby also. So if you like to just take a short drive, Tiong Bahru is just there, and lots of cafes and hawker centres there as well.
Correct. So I think overall we'll give it a 4 out of 5 rating because we feel that River Green has a slightly better, in terms of location, slightly better in terms of like the zoning, and River Green being closer to Great World MRT.
So next up, we have W Residences at Marina View. So this one is quite interesting because this is actually the hotel branded residence that will be upcoming. And I think from what we hear, the developer is planning this to be an ultra luxurious development. So in terms of the location, it's right along Marina View. And in terms of the closest MRT, we have, of course, the Shenton Way, Thomson East Coast Line, just a stone's throw away, 177 meters, and you're there. So it's a less than 200-meter walk, less than 3 minutes, you're at the nearest MRT. And of course, in terms of surrounding vicinity, we're talking about schools. Of course, since it's in the CBD, there are not many schools to speak of. Nearest one will actually be Cantonment Primary, but of course that's within 1.04 km. So as of now, it's more towards the 1 to 2 km radius. So of course, if you're looking for schools, this is not really the development in a sense. But in terms of other malls and stuff, of course, this being the CBD, there's no like really big major mall. But of course, Tanjong Pagar Centre, the MBFC Tower 3, Marina Bay Link Mall, these are all malls within a 600-meter distance or so. Yeah.
In terms of the hawker centres, we have the famous Amoy Street Food Centre and Maxwell Food Centre as well. I think Lady Gaga just visited there. And then nearby, the groceries, I think, are all situated mostly in these malls. But in terms of locality, because it's situated in the CBD area, so we feel that most of the things may not be as happening during the weekends. And things may close early on the weekends as of now. Yeah, for example, MBFC, I think if you go there on the weekend, pretty much it's a ghost town. Yeah. So for that, we actually give W a rating of 2 out of 5. In terms of MRT, yes, very close to Shenton Way, but primary schools and amenities not as vibrant and all-rounded as compared to the other locations.
So now we're done with the location. So next up, what we'll be ranking is actually the developer profiles for these 5 projects. First up, we have Upper House. So Upper House is done by no other than UOL and Singapore Land. So I think these 2 developers are definitely no strangers to the Singapore public because they've done up lots of projects in the last few years, and more often than times, their projects are often having a very good take-up rate because of the way they've done the site plan, and their finishing quality is generally above par, compared to other developments. So if we go and take a look at some of their track record or some of their previous projects, Upper House has actually done up, for those projects that are completed, they've actually done up Mayor House. So Mayor House is an ultra luxurious project done up in District 15. And we also have other projects like Avenue South Residence in the more closer to the CBD area. And then of course, they've also done up some projects like Clavon as well in Clementi. So you can see they do all the way from luxurious properties until maybe more of the OCR type, and they fare very well in all segments. Some additional projects they've done up also that are upcoming are Wharton House, Mayor Blue, as well as Amo Residence, which is about to TOP. So you can see their footprint is really all over Singapore and all different kind of segments. And from Core Central to the RCR and OCR. So just to give you some examples in terms of the way they design some site plans. So for example, this site plan that we'll put up is actually that of Mayor House. So you can see the way they do their developments. They like to plan lots of landscaping and greenery around the whole project itself, which is why UOL actually wins multiple awards on landscaping. If you see some of the other projects, on the right hand side, we actually have Clavon as well. So they've won multiple landscaping projects for Clavon, Botanic at Bartley, and that is I'll say that is their strongest point.
So for UOL projects that recently, some even collected keys, we can see that they're actually making good profits as well. For Mayor House, even the 4-bedroom have made about 1.3 million, and also let's say for Clavon, their 4 bedrooms have made about 700 to 900,000 in a span of about 4 years or so.
So I think this one shows that as a developer, definitely like finishing wise, all this, they are even very well accepted in the resale market. And also this is sort of testament to the kind of layouts that they do. So generally very good layouts that the resale owners like for their families as well. And we'll be touching on the layouts later on in our other ratings.
So for the rating for UOL, for Upper House, we'll give it a 5 out of 5.
I think in general, definitely no complaints, and just a very solid developer with very good track record.
So next we have Robertson Opus. This is done by Frasers as well as Sekisui House. So for Frasers, they've also done quite a number of projects recently. For example, Soleil at Sinaran, Seaside Residences, along the East Coast, and also Riviere, which is along Singapore River as well.
That one used to be the old Zouk for those who don't know. And I think Seaside Residence, of course, has fared very well in the resale market as well. It's actually, I think it's fair to say, it's the most iconic project in the Siglap area at this point. So now we're going to put up the site plan of Seaside Residence, which I would say is their most iconic project in recent years. So if you take a look at the way they plan the site plan and the way they orientate the blocks, I think it's quite easy to see why it's a winning development. So what they've done is they've oriented most blocks in a north-south orientation, and of course the south view or the Siglap Link facing side, they've really maximized the sea views. And of course, on the north facing, they've maximized the landed views as well. Yeah, and of course, if you see the site plan, a large portion of the land itself is dedicated a lot for the swimming pool facilities or water features, and also other facilities like the tennis court and sky terraces as well. So for Seaside, they also have sky terraces on level 14 where everyone can enjoy the sea views,
yes.
even though you may not be having a unit facing the sea. So I think that's something that's a really big plus point. So actually, if we pull out some of their track record in terms of the resale market, how they've actually fared. So if we see Seaside Residences, for example, I think it's quite astonishing to see that some of their 4 bidders have actually reaped up to 1.29 mil in profit since they've TOP'd. Yeah, the 3 bidders also hitting almost close to $1 million or up to 800,000 profits, which is a testament to how they fare in the resale market.
Here we have Riviere. Although there hasn't been that many transactions in the resale market because it's a newly TOP project, but we can see the 3 bedrooms crossing 500,000 in terms of profits, and their 2 bedrooms are also making a decent 200,000 in a span of 3 to 4 years. Okay, so for Robertson Opus, for Frasers, the developer, will give it a 4 out of 5 rating.
Yeah, I think in general, still a very solid developer profile. Although maybe they lose out to UOL in the sense that the volume of projects in the last few years may not have been as much as UOL. So yeah, nonetheless, still very solid. So next up we have Wing Tai Asia, the developer for River Green. So for those who do not know, Wing Tai Asia actually has its roots from Hong Kong. Yeah, so we'll also touch a bit on that and how it impacts the layouts a bit later on. But in terms of some of their recent projects, they've also done up some projects like the Garden Residences. That's one of their newer projects they completed just about 2-3 years ago. The M is their latest project that has completed. So the M is actually at the Bugis area. Smaller development, but basically I think what they've done is quite of the big portion of the project is targeted for rental because a lot of the portion are 1 and 2 bidders.
Yeah, and studio
in that
units
project.
also.
Yeah, I'll say more of their more major projects in the last 8 years will probably be the Crest, which is at Prince Charles Crescent. So they were very ambitious with this development because they hired a Japanese architect for this project, and they wanted the whole project to look like the shape of crowns, essentially. But of course, with such ambition, the layouts
a bit compromised.
A bit irregular. Yeah. So a lot of them had a lot of triangular shape for the bedrooms and all this, which in concept good, but may have affected it in the resale market a little bit. Yeah.
So I think the most one of the more upscale projects that they've done is Novel 18 as well, on Anderson Road.
So if we take a look at the profitability for Garden Residence, for example, in recent times, some of the 5 and 4 bidder owners here have transacted, and they've also made about 500 to 600k over the last 4 years holding period thereabouts. Also given that it's one of the newer projects that have TOP'd recently, which is still fairly decent.
Also they have the M, okay, also by Wing Tai. Also newly TOP'd. We can see their 2 bedrooms are making about 200,000 in a span of 4 years. Yeah.
So because this project, as mentioned earlier, was primed more towards 1 and 2 bedrooms, so we do see that maybe perhaps there's a cap in terms of the gains in the future, because when a project is primed towards more for rental, right, sometimes the profitability can also be affected. Yeah, especially when it's not for family size units.
Yeah, so for that, we actually give Wing Tai for River Green a 3 out of 5 rating.
So next up, we have Promenade Peak. And the developer for this is actually All Green Properties. So if we take a look at some of their recent developments, so Pasir Ris 8 would be their most recent one where owners have already started to collect keys. So this will be the most iconic one because this is the first integrated development right in the heart of Pasir Ris, of which this is the project that on the first day also sold more than 90%.
Yes.
So that was a crazy time also. Yeah, but some of their other projects, they were focused very much on District 10 just a few years ago. They also done up Royal Green, 4th Avenue Residence, as well as Juniper Hill. So if we take a look at some of their other developments in terms of the site plan and the way they plan the facilities, so for example, we can pull up the 4th Avenue Residence site plan. So of course, when they won this land plot, they actually got the most prime plot in terms of being closest to the MRT for this development. But of course, when we were selling the project at the time, one complaint that people had was when they planned the blocks, actually quite a lot of them have very close block-to-block distance. So eventually, of course, still sold out. But of course, this is one thing that maybe might affect things in the resale market. But in general, still a development that fared pretty well. I would say we see similar patterns for projects like Royal Green. So for example, the blocks also are very close to one another. And even if I pull up Pasir Ris 8, all the blocks are also lined up in one line, quite close to one another as well in terms of block-to-block distance. So probably this developer has a certain way of designing the blocks. So this is a recurring theme. So if we take a look at some of the profitability for some of the all-green properties like 4th Avenue Residences, for example, we see 3-bedders still hitting around 300 to 400,000 in terms of profit gain in the last few years. So it's still fairly decent, but maybe could have been maybe more gains if they planned the site plan a little bit better and
the landscaping
and all. So we'll be giving the developer for Promenade Peak, or rather all green properties, a rating of 3 out of 5 for this segment. So lastly, we have W Residence at Marina View. So this developer is IOI. So IOI actually has its roots from Malaysia. So they're not a local developer, but of course in recent years, they actually haven't had much projects recently. But for the few that have actually been there, some of them include projects like South Beach Residence, which they did in collaboration with CDL. So this one is probably, I'll say, the most iconic project in the South Beach area, which I think was done pretty well. Then we also have Triling, the ones at Clementi. And then in Sentosa, they've also done up 2 projects like Cape Royal as well as Seascape. Yeah. So if we see some of their previous projects, of course there are some developments like Triling. Okay, Triling fared very well in the resale market. You can see some of the 4-bedder owners, 3-bedders. They've also made up to 800,000 to even 1 mil in terms of profits. Of course, Triling was sold around 2015, 2016. So probably any property then will also have made good money. But this just shows that their resale developments also fare decently. But I think one thing we would like to examine, so some of their other projects, for example at Seascape, if I were to be buying one of these properties, maybe I'll be a bit more concerned because if you take a look at their record, we do see, in terms of the profitability, we have actually owners losing up to 1.9 mil to even 2.6 mil in the resale market. And of course, at that time, Sentosa was a bit more speculative and it's very foreigner dominated. So that's why probably the dynamics there are a bit different. But this is just some of the things that are happening for some of their developments. So given that IOI's footprint in Singapore they haven't really been active in the last few years, and also some of their projects, while they are good projects that have profited well also, there are also some projects that also have not fared very well. Yeah, so for that, we shall give W Residences a rating of 2 out of 5.
Okay, so now we'll compare the layouts for the 2 and 3 bedroom for the 5 different developments. Because we don't have the floor plans of a few of them, we only have floor plans for W Residences and also Robertson Opus. So we'll use other developers' recent project layouts to compare with. So first up, we have Upper House. We don't have this floor plan yet, so we'll use Mayer Blue for comparison. I think for the 2 bedroom, firstly, it's a pretty efficient dumbbell layout. Okay, so the bedrooms are at the corners. And then for this kind of layout, it's good for rental because you can potentially rent to separate tenants, or you have you actually have more privacy in terms of your own space at the either ends of the house. Yeah.
I think one thing good is that the kitchen, it's also a very wide entrance kitchen, and they've segregated the kitchen area from the dining space. So from the dining area, you don't see into your kitchen, which is more cozy in general. Yeah, but of course, because it's not really a corner unit, so the aircon ledge is actually outside the common bedroom, which is bedroom 2, which would be maybe a slight minus. And also, there's no windows in both bathrooms as a result. So this will just be the minor complaints that we have about this layout, but otherwise, it's a very solid dumbbell layout. Yeah.
So for the 3 bedroom for Mayer Blue, one of the good points is that it has a very squarish balcony, so more efficient and in terms of planning and putting your things in the balcony. Okay, it also has a very decent sized kitchen and even a storeroom, a flexi room from the entrance to your kitchen. Okay, and then for the master bedroom, it's also very decent size. You can actually fit a queen or king bed, and you also have a bit of space for you to put your dressing table, for example.
Maybe some things that maybe can be improved for this layout? For this layout in particular, some might feel that the foyer area at the entrance is a little bit long. So some might deem this as more wasted space in a sense lah. Okay, and also the fact that the storeroom is right near the entrance, okay, also leaning up the kitchen. Maybe some people might find this a little bit odd lah, because most of the time the storerooms are located tucked away at the kitchen side. Yeah, and no yard also for this particular layout. So hanging clothes wise, probably you have to more definitely put it in the balcony area. And I'll say the last thing is that both bathrooms also don't have windows because they did not plan this exactly as a corner kind of stack as well. So for a three-bedder, I would say having the windows in the bathrooms are quite an important point for quite a lot of families. But of course, in recent times, some projects like even Amber Park recently, they also have bathrooms without windows, but they still fare well in the resale market. So maybe trends are changing nowadays as well. Yeah, but in general, it's a solid three-bedder layout that sold very well during launch.
So for that, we give upper house, for the layout portion, we give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, so next up we have the Robertson Opus. So we'll start first with the two-bedder layout. So as we enter the main entrance, just to note, this is the actual layout for the Robertson Opus and the actual floor plan for this particular plan. So once we enter the main entrance, I think one thing great is that once you turn left from the entrance, it's right into a enclosable kitchen. Nice glass panel also overlooking the living dining. And the great thing is that they've actually planned for a corner stack for this project for the two-bedders, meaning that we have windows in the kitchen for ventilation, and then we also have windows in both the bathrooms as well. And if we see the living and dining area, it's also very nicely segregated, and bedroom sizes also look pretty decent. So for bedroom 2, easily fitting a queen-size bed with the 2 side tables as well. And interestingly, because this project is not PPVC method of construction, a lot of the walls in this development are actually hackable as well. So there'll be the option if you wanted to enlarge your living space by hacking down the wall of bedroom 2.
Okay, so when we look at the 3-bedroom layout, for the kitchen also very decent size, and the good thing is that it actually comes with a yard, a dedicated yard area. Okay, very good layout. For the 3-bedroom, it also has a flexi room. Okay, so for the kitchen, you can actually glass it up as well. So allows more light penetration as well. So for that, I don't think we have much complaints because the overall layout is very efficient.
Very squarish as well, you
yes.
can see. And also the kitchen, they've done up a very nice option to make it open kitchen concept, but yet also using sliding doors to enclose it at your convenience. Yeah, very nice for hosting lah, basically.
Yeah, the only maybe not so good part depends on your own take lah. Yeah, is that it has a very long balcony which extends into the 3rd bedroom. So for that, it may eat up more into your square footage. So for that, we give Robertson Opus a rating of 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Pretty fair assessment, and also quite good, especially since these are the actual layouts as well. Okay, next up, we will discuss about the River Green layouts. So of course by Wing Tai. So of course now we don't have the actual floor plans for River Green, but we will reference the Lake Garden Residences, which is the project that they are selling now. Yeah. So for example, we pull up this 2-bedder layout for the Lake Garden Residences. I think first thing that hits you immediately, for example, if we start from the main entrance. First thing, when you walk into your main entrance, the first thing you see is your dining table, which is a little bit odd, not the most normal thing lah. Most of the time when you enter your main entrance for 2-bedder, you see your kitchen. Yeah, so for this one, we see the dining table first, and then as we enter the hallway into the living room, right, then the kitchen actually acts as the hallway lah. Yeah, so it's kind of like an open kitchen concept as well, with it being lined up to the wall. So to me, the feel is already a little bit off lah, in a sense. So I'll say resale market wise, it's not very regular, so might not fare very well as well. But in terms of, I think one thing they've done well is they've actually planned for a corner unit for this 2-bedder. So there are actually windows in the bathrooms as well as the dining area in this sense. So master bedroom also is also a decent size for this particular layout, which I think is a big plus. But overall the irregular shape is just a little bit off lah. So next up, we'll take a look at the 3-bedder for the Lake Garden Residences. So once we enter the main entrance, as we go in and turn left, I think most people comment that the kitchen size is a little bit small and narrow compared to your very typical kitchen layouts. Also, the window is a little bit smaller. So in terms of the ventilation, this might be a complaint for those people who cook quite often. Okay, so as we enter the living and dining area, the bedroom sizes here, I would say, is Wing Thai's main, I'll say, the point that can be improved. Because if you see bedroom 3, for example, they fit a single bed there in the floor plan for a reason. Because they're just trying to tell us that this bedroom can only fit a single bed comfortably, in a sense. Even if you take a look at bedroom 2 is only able to fit a queen size bed with one side table. Yeah, so while the master bedroom is pretty spacious, especially if you have kids, I would say this bedroom sizes is a big a weak point, especially if you have kids. Yeah, especially if you maybe want to fit a study table within the bedroom as well. And if you take a look, master bathroom also does not have windows. Yeah, which is probably quite a minus, especially for families. So overall, I would say for Wing Thai, this is just one example, okay, but we have other examples as well. We give the layout rating for River Green as a 2 out of 5. But of course, again, we'll wait for the actual layouts to come out and we'll do a full-on review once that happens.
So next we have Promenade Peak. We also don't have the floor plan, so we'll use 4th Avenue as a representation. So for this, I think the good thing is that it actually has a proper dining area, and also because it's a portrait layout, so you actually have the flexibility of adjusting how your table is going to be placed. Okay, so for the kitchen, it also is a bit narrow. It's at the entrance.
Yeah.
Also like the single slab along the wall kind of layout. And then the AC ledge is also outside your common bedroom.
Yeah, because they didn't plan for corner stacks for 2-bedder for this development, which is very rare to begin with.
Yeah, so for that also no windows in the bathrooms.
Yeah. So in general, nowadays developers, with 700 over square feet, some developments even manage to put an enclosable kitchen. But maybe for this layout, they could have probably done a bit more. So it's more of a open kitchen concept straight away when you enter your entrance. So probably could be done better, but we'll see when the actual floor plans come out as well.
Okay, so for the 3-bedroom, I think the first thing we notice is that the long foyer, when you walk in from the entrance, there's quite a bit of wasted space there. And then for the kitchen, it's actually pretty small for a 3-bedroom with like family. Yeah, and as well as the dining area.
Yeah, so the dining area is actually in the way of the entrance to the living room.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dining area is right next to the kitchen door. So, may feel a bit claustrophobic during dinner time.
Yeah, I think too much space allocation to the foyer, and there's no yard and more space for the dining. So it's a bit compromised there. Okay, the good thing is that they actually have windows in both bathrooms, and we have the squarish balcony again. And common bedroom sizes are also pretty decent. Yeah.
Yep. So overall, we will say that 4th Avenue Residences, okay, as the example for Promenade Peak, still rather okay, but we'll give an overall rating of 3 out of 5.
Okay, last but not least, we have W Residence. This is the actual floor plan that we already have. Okay, so when we look at the 2-bedroom, same thing, it has a very efficient dumbbell layout. In fact, the bedroom sizes are very luxurious. Yeah, you can fit like a king or queen bed with 2 side tables, and you still have ample space to put a dressing table, for example. So kitchen is also at the entrance, but I think the walkway space is pretty decent, and you can also potentially enclose the kitchen away from your living dining area. Yeah, so the cons are, I think firstly you have the AC ledge outside your bedroom too, and also because this is a dumbbell layout and not a corner unit, also no windows in the bathrooms.
Yeah. Because they didn't plan for a corner stack. But it's fine. Overall, as a dumbbell shape, 2-bedder is pretty efficient and solid. So now we'll look at the 3-bedder for W Residences. So I think one thing we see as we enter the main entrance, one thing that hits you in a good way, is that they've actually planned for both a dry and a wet kitchen area. So you see the dry kitchen area, this is more intended, for being able to host guests. Okay, and I think one thing nice or small detail is that they are probably planning for a sink even in the dry kitchen area, which is very handy. Right? And then of course we got a good standard portrait layout, okay, for the living dining area as well. And again, I think this developer, one thing good about them is they've actually planned for very good bedroom sizes also for the 3-bedder. So if we see the 2-bedder, or rather, sorry, the bedroom 2, you could even fit a queen bed, 2 side tables, or even a king bed. Yeah, it will still be pretty comfortable. Master bedroom also looks like they have dual windows. Yeah, so on the sides and at the front of the master. So this one is actually planned for maximizing the views as well. So I think overall, they've planned this. They have to plan this as a good layout because they're actually positioning this as a lux development, okay, and a branded residence also. So I think overall, when we see the layouts, we're giving W Residences a 4 out of 5 for the rating.
Okay, so next we'll talk about the rental of the 5 developments. We'll compare the development with the recent transactions of the nearby newer developments, and then we'll give it a rating at the end of it. Okay, so first up we have Upper House. Nearby we have pretty new developments like Cascaden Reserve, okay, and even like 3 Orchard by the Park and also Boulevard 88. So from there, their average PSF for their rental for the 2 to 3 bedrooms are hovering about 7 to 8-ish. So I think we can take reference in terms of the average PSF for Upper House to be about 8.5, which is something that has been transacted for Cascaden and also Boulevard 88. Yeah, so based on that, we don't know what is the size for Upper House in terms of the layouts yet. But based on the recent highest transactions, let's say in Cascaden and also Boulevard, okay, their 2-bedroom have been faring about 10 to 13k, and 3-bedroom even 19,000. But I think for Boulevard 88, because the unit sizes are
much bigger,
lah. Yeah. So for that, I think averagely we can expect about 9k on average for the 2-bedroom, and also about 12k for the 3-bedroom at Upper House.
So for Upper House, in terms of the rental, it's going to be quite strong, especially since it's also closer to the MRT. But we'll give an overall rating for Upper House in terms of the rentability as 4 out of 5.
Okay, so next up we have Robertson Opus. So nearby we have newer developments like Avenir and Martin Modern as well, and older one is like Rivergate. So based on their average PSF, I think because Martin Modern and Avenir are the newest ones.
Yep.
But in terms of proximity to, let's say, amenities, MRT, Robertson Opus fare slightly better. So I think averagely you can give it around 9 PSF expected lah. I mean, all these are just based on our own personal take. Yeah, it may or may not be. Based on the recent transactions for Avenir and Martin Modern, we can see that their 2 bedrooms are hovering about 8.5 and even 8.8k on the high side. Okay, and their 3 bedrooms are even like 12k and also 17k for Avenir. So based on the sizes of Robertson Opus, which we already have, I think 2 bedrooms we can expect about averagely, let's say if based on 9 PSF, about 6,600, and then for their 3 bedrooms about 9,400. But of course, there could be slight differences, or there are some unique units that can fetch higher rentals, but this is just an estimate.
Yeah, actually this is, I would say, is a conservative estimate because Robertson Opus will be brand new at that time in 4 to 5 years time in TOPs, and the rest of the projects will be closer towards 10 years plus old already. So definitely Robertson Opus might even command a PSF of maybe up to even $10 per square foot, raising the rents a bit more. But of course, Robertson Quay is a very famous place for a lot of the Japanese and Korean expats to stay also, so the demand there is definitely very strong. And overall, we just give the rating for Robertson Opus as a 4 out of 5.
Okay, so next we have River Green and Promenade Peak. Because they are in the same vicinity, so we actually lump them up together. And then we compare them with their neighbouring developments, like the newer ones, for example, like Irwell Hill and also Riviere. Whereas the older ones like Cosmopolitan and even Trillium. Okay, so for the newer ones, we can see that their average PSF is around 8-ish. Okay, so for Promenade Peak and also River Green, with them being the newest kids on the block and also close by to the MRT and amenities, I think we can give it an average PSF of about 8.5 for both of them. So based on that, let's say based on the estimated sizes, we can expect River Green, because as of what we know, Wing Tai tend to build more efficient layouts, so their sizes will be slightly smaller compared to Promenade Peak. That's what we expect lah. So based on that, we can see for River Green, their 2 bedrooms, averagely, we can expect about 5,007, and 3 bed maybe 6,008 or even 7,000 in the resale market. Yeah.
So Promenade Peak might have bigger units compared to River Green. So overall, the quantum of rental might be a bit higher, but per square foot will still be around the same lah. So for 2 bed for Promenade Peak, maybe we can expect also around 6.2k plus minus that range. And a 3 bed, if for example, if we're talking about the 3 bed compact sizes like 914 square feet, might even go up to 7.6k, 8,000 plus minus thereabouts, which is fairly decent for this area.
That's just our expectation in terms of the average PSF, but like what we mentioned, there could be higher transactions in the future. So for that, we actually give both of them, I think for River Green, it's a 3.5.
Yep.
And then likewise for Promenade Peak, because similar kind of area, similar rental, so 3.5 as well.
Yeah, but we also wait for the layouts to come out because layouts also play a factor in terms of the rental as well. So we'll wait for more information to come out first.
So last but not least, we have W Residence at Marina View. Okay, so for that, I think because it's a very unique development, okay, it's something that is a branded residence for one, and we can't really compare it so much with other
mass market projects lah.
mass market project or non-branded developments. But I think the closest we can compare it with is Warwick Residences.
Yeah, the tallest building in Singapore at this moment lah. So Warwick Residence also was built as a very luxurious project. Not hotel branded, but still very luxurious. The average PSF there is around $10.50. Okay, in terms of the average, and of course it went up to about $13 per square foot in terms of the rental. If we compare this to like the mass market condo like Vine on Shenton, for example, the PSF there is around $6 in terms for average, and the highest PSF there is probably around $8 per square foot. So I'll say Warwick is probably the one that we try to compare with lah. And of course, W being a branded residence, hotel branded.
You'll have the full concierge service right at your doorstep, and it's of a different level and scale.
Yeah.
So with that, I believe that there will be tenants who are willing to pay more because they really can come, as in you can unlock the door and let the person in to help you do your groceries, help you clean the house and things like that. So it's very, very different. So with that, I believe there are people who are willing to pay above and beyond. So I guess an average expected PSF, we can give it slightly higher than Warwick even.
Yeah, around $12.
So based on that, we can expect about 8,500 for 2 bedroom rental, and then for the 3 bedroom, maybe about 14k or even plus minus lah. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the moment, Warwick Residence is also having around 11k rental for 2 bedrooms, and then the 3 bed also goes as high as 17,000. So we'll wait a bit more, but definitely W will have command a higher PSF in terms of the rental. Okay, so for W Residences, I think given that it's the branded residences in this area, I think in the end probably we'll have a lot of C-level executives renting this development, especially since we're in the financial district. So we give the rentability for this project a rating of 5 out of 5. Yeah, which I think is a very fair assessment.
Okay, lastly, we are going to talk about the exit strategy. So how we look at it is we look at the nearby recent transactions for the newly TOP projects in the vicinity, and then we look at the price gap between the expected PSF.
Yeah, so in terms of like the quantum difference, let's say if I were to buy a 2-bedder for 2 million for this project versus that project has already transacted 3 million, for example. So that would be the quantum difference that we're talking about. So first up, we'll talk about Upper House. So we'll pull up a map here just to show us what is Upper House. In terms of the estimated PSF, we're going to use an estimated average of 3250, which is something that we hear will likely be the average PSF, but of course we have to wait for the actual price to come out. But what we can do is we can actually compare this with the surrounding leasehold as well as the freehold developments in the same area. So for example, if you look at the leasehold comparison, okay, if you compare Upper House at potentially 3250 per square foot, we have Cascaden Reserve just nearby. Okay, also another leasehold project, and the average PSF there is around 3055, and we see the PSF actually hitting up to 3800. So this will be the more like for like in terms of 99-year leasehold comparison itself. So what, okay, if you want to own a freehold, I think that's a very big question over here. Because for Upper House, what we foresee is that a lot of buyers might be objecting to the fact that Upper House is 99 years. So today, well, if you want to buy a freehold, so if we actually, for example, we take a look at 3 Orchard by the Park, the PSF average there is already, it jumps to 3,800, okay, and of course the highest PSF there has hit around 4,001. And furthermore, if we even take a look at the developments like Boulevard 88, okay, or even Park Nova, the PSF there has already hit 4,000 plus, all the way up to even 5,700. Yeah, so today if you want to buy freehold, then this is the PSF that you have to look at. Next, we look at the quantum difference or the potential gap in terms of quantum. So for example, if we take a look at the other projects, so for example, if we take a look at Cascadian Reserve, a 2-bedder actually hits as high as 3.5 mil in this project, and the 3-bedder can go as up to 4 million. Okay, and for the other projects, in terms of Boulevard 88, okay, you can see the 2-bedder hitting as high as 5.4 million, the 3-bedder hitting as much as 7 mil. Yeah, and it's also the same pattern for Park Nova and 3 Orchard by the Park as well. So, if we summarize this, and let's say today we enter a 2-bedder in Upper House, and we make an assumption that maybe the size of the 2-bedder is 760 square feet. Okay, and if we use 3250 as a guide, probably we can see the range of a 2-bedder here for a 2-bedder in Upper House maybe being around 2.5 million. Okay, and if we take a look at the surrounding transacted quantum, okay, we are already seeing that people have already transacted here 3.5 up to 6.6 million for the freehold developments. So today, there's actually a gap of up to 1 mil, even up to 4 million if you compare to the freehold projects for a 2-bedder. Yeah, and then if we see the 3-bedder, if we make the same assumption as 1,100 square feet for the same PSF, a 3-bedder at Upper House might be around 3.5 mil, maybe up to 3.8 million. Yeah, if we compare this again with the nearby surrounded quantum, they've really transacted around 4 to 11 mil. Okay, so there's actually a gap of around up to 500k, up to even 6 to 7 million. Yeah, of course, those are for projects like Boulevard 88 where the floor plates are very big. Yeah. Okay, and then of course of the higher PSF and the freehold premium, that's why it can be so drastic in terms of the quantum difference.
Yeah, but I think for people who want to enter into that area, and let's say you don't want to pay a premium price for the bigger layouts or the older developments, they are freehold, for example, this is actually a very digestible price to enter in this area.
Yeah, imagine you can own a piece of Orchard Boulevard at 3.5 to 4 mil for a 3-bedder. I think that's quite a comfortable quantum in today's market. So overall, I think the big question will be whether people can accept 99 years. I think this is a very big question that people will be discussing. But in terms of the quantum difference, I would say that you're at least buying at a very safe entry price. Yeah, that's the very important one.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note is that for Upper House, we have all the way up to 4 bedrooms, whereas Cascadian Reserve doesn't have. So for people who want to buy 4-bedroom with a certain price range, okay, this must be something very digestible.
Yeah, so overall, we'll wait for more information like the actual pricing to come out. But for the overall exit strategy, we'll give Upper House a 4 out of 5. Just due to the fact that there's such a big difference in quantum compared to the neighbouring projects. So next up, we have the Robertson Opus. So we don't have any pricing yet also, but from what we hear, the developer is looking to price perhaps at an average of 3,500 per square foot, plus minus. So maybe we might see the range of 3,004, maybe up to 3,006 or 3,007, but we can use 3.5k as the benchmark average. Yeah. So if we compare this with the newer developments in the area, or the more popular ones, we have Rivergate as a freehold comparison. So of course in Rivergate it's an older development, more than 10 years already. So they have things in their layout like punter boxes and perhaps bay windows that make the PSF on paper look smaller. But even so, right, we can see the average PSF there already hitting around 2008. Okay, so for a project that is older, it's already very high. In terms of the highest PSF there is around 3,000. I would say the more direct comparison would be probably the Avenue, because the Avenue is also freehold, but it's more of a newer development. Okay, and we see the average PSF there hitting from 3,300 all the way until 3,700. Okay, so as a freehold competition, if the Opus were to launch at around 3,500, okay, actually it's not very different from the PSF transacting in the same area. Yeah, so I'll say in this regard, it's quite safe to enter at this PSF. Okay, I mean, of course, there's then again the 99-year comparison. So, of course, Martin Modern is the project that TOP quite recently as well. The PSF there is sitting around 2007 to 2009. Yeah, but of course, this is 99 years. So, of course, if a buyer were to be looking at only freehold in this area, then yeah, we can actually enter at a safe entry price if we are really entering at around 3,500 from a PSF standpoint.
Yeah, potentially you may get even a lower price for the freehold at Robertson Opus compared to those highest transacted already in Martin Modern. So you're actually entering with a price protection. Yeah.
So if you look at the quantum difference or the potential gap in terms of quantum, let's say if we look at the Opus, a 2-bed, okay, if we look at estimated maybe 743 square feet, okay, maybe we're looking at quantum around 2.6 mil for 2-bedder, and then for 3-bed, we're looking at quantum of around 3.7 million. We compare this with some of the recent transactions at Rivergate, for example. So Rivergate, we actually have the 2-bedders because they're larger in floor plate size in general. The 2-bedders have already hit as much as 3.1 million. Yeah. So some people might say this is very high, but this is for a 10-year plus year old resale project. And the 3-bedder has already hit up to 4.3 million. Okay. Then of course, if we take a look at the Avenir. So the Avenir has also hit a 2-bed high of around 2.85 million. Okay. And then the 3-bed hitting as much as 3.7 million. So, you know, if we take a look at a direct comparison again, okay, we compare again the quantum difference. Okay, the price gap for the Opus could be up to around 500,000 for a 2-bedder. Okay, so the surrounding vicinity already has 2-bedders transacting around 500,000 more than the projected average price of the Opus 2-bedder at 2.6 million. And if we see the 3-bedder, okay, if a 3-bedder here is around 3.7 million, then the surrounding vicinity already has transactions up to 4.385 million for a 3-bedder. So we're actually buying at a decent cushion compared to the recent transacted projects, which I think is quite safe in that regard. And of course, we are freehold, so of course we don't have to worry about lease decay, this kind of issues. So as long as you're not looking to flip immediately and not you need to sell immediately, then I think there's a very good hold in the medium to long term for this development.
So for that, we'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. Next, we have River Green and Promenade Peak. We also lump them together because I think we compare them with the surrounding developments concurrently. Okay, so for the newer developments that we have, I think we can look at Irwell Hill and also Riviere. Yeah. Averagely, the PSF there is already about 2.8 to 2.9, and the highest PSF there 3,000 and also 3,003. Okay, so if you look at the quantum wise, Irwell 2-bedroom have already crossed 2.23 million, and their 3-bedroom has already crossed 3.58. And likewise, Riviere, we are seeing similar kind of price range for their 2-bedroom already crossing 2.5, and 3-bedroom even up to 5.1 million transacted.
I'll say one thing we have to compare here also is the freehold competition. So in the surrounding Great World City, right, we also have projects like the Cosmopolitan and the Trillium, which are of course older projects. But I think it's very important to see what price people are willing to pay in terms of quantum for this area, be it freehold or leasehold. So for example, if you look at the Trillium, okay, can you believe someone even paid 3.75 million for a 2-bedder, right? In this area. The 3-bed is also here as high as 4.95 million. So this is price acceptance for a 2 or 3-bedder in this area. So of course, you know, in terms of the pricing, if we were to, because we don't have the pricing yet also. So of course, in our previous video, we also talked about the estimated pricing based on the land pricing. But of course, we use the assumption of maybe $3,000 per square foot for now. Yeah. So if we see River Green or Promenade Peak, if they have a 700 square feet unit for a 2-bedder, for example, okay, the quantum could be potentially around 2.1 million plus minus. Okay? And if we see the nearby transacted quantum, of course for the leasehold projects like Irwell Hill or Riviere, they go around 2.23 million, thereabouts. And then for the freehold, it goes up to 3.75 million. So today, if you enter at 2.1 mil with this gap of around 130k, even up to 1.5 mil, is it safe?
I think it's pretty safe for getting a brand new 99 years.
in this
project,
vicinity.
in this area.
Yeah, if we see the 3-bedder, of course, let's say very likely they'll be planning for maybe more compact size 3-bedders or so lah, just to make it more affordable. So maybe at 936 square feet at 3,000 PSF, probably it's around 2.8 million entry price for a 3-bedder in River Valley, which I think is very fair lah. Yeah, and the quantum difference, the nearby really transacted 3.5 to 5.1 mil. So that is your benchmark with this kind of price gap. I think it's pretty safe to enter lah from that regard. Yeah.
Correct.
But of course, we have to see things like the layouts. As just now we mentioned, River Green, the layouts also tend to be a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And just because you buy cheap doesn't mean you can exit at much higher price also. Yeah, a lot of things are very dependent. So if for example River Green does not have very good layouts, maybe the exit strategy might be compromised also. And similar to Promenade Peak lah. So for that reason, we actually give River Green exit strategy of 3 out of 5 points, purely because of what we think the development might be. We feel like they're going to make it a bit more mass market to make it more affordable lah. Yeah. So Promenade Peak also we'll have to wait and see. But of course, as mentioned, sometimes the way they plan the site plans may be a bit more close block to block and all this. So this might affect profitability lah. But overall, we give it a 3.5 out of 5. Okay, so last we are gonna talk about W Residence and the exit strategy. So I think this is an interesting topic because a lot of people in general are quite scared to enter the CBD area because I think a lot of people hear a lot of horror stories of marina owners losing money and having very hard to sell units in the resale market. So I mean, let's just take a look from the PSF perspective first. So as mentioned, W Residences, we hear that they are discussing to price at an average of around 4,000 over per square foot. Yeah, it being a branded residence and all lah. So of course, we cannot compare this with like for like with mass market developments, but we take a look at the nearest one over here. It would be at Vine on Shenton, a 99-year project as well. So for Vine on Shenton, actually the average PSF there is around 2,070 going up to 2,007. Okay, and of course, as mentioned, we compare this maybe more directly with Warwick Residence. So Warwick has actually hit from 3.1k PSF up to 3.6k PSF. So today if you're buying W at 4,000, I mean there's still a gap in terms of PSF. You're probably buying at a higher PSF in this area. Okay, of course we put Skywater's residence there just as a reminder. Just someone has paid 6,000 PSF over here, but just remember that this is just a sole unit, one unit. Yeah, so this is, I think we can disregard that as a whole. Yeah. If we take a look at the quantum difference, then of course, with Warwick Residences, the 2-bedder hitting as high as 3 million, 3.128 million, and then the 3-bedder hitting as high as 5.21 million. Today, if you enter W Residences at the sizes, because we already have the floor plans up, you can actually see the quantum. Then, for example, if W Residences, we see a 2-bedder, and we assume the 4,000 PSF for a 710 square feet unit, okay, the quantum to enter might be around 2.84 million. Okay, and then of course with the 2-bedder in Warwick, transacting around 3.128 million or up to that, then there is actually a fair gap between Warwick Residence, for example. And the 3-bedder, we see that if we take a 1,195 square feet unit, we take 4,000 PSF, it could be up to 4.78 million. So the nearby transacted quantum has also hit up to 5.21 million. So there is indeed a price gap on paper. So of course, if an agent tells you this, of course the other surrounding project have transacted higher. Of course, on paper it looks like there might be a good exit strategy lah. Okay, but if we take a closer inspection, okay, for some reason the properties in the CBD, like if we take Vine on Shenton, right? Okay, Vine on Shenton, we actually have 57% of all the owners here lost money since those people that have sold. Yeah, and only 47 people have made small profits. So actually, if you just take one glance and see the people that have made money, okay, they've actually made a measly sum. It could be up to like maybe 6,600 up to 300k for a 6-year holding period, which I would say it's quite modest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you see the losses, okay, more than half of the projects, people buying this project have already made losses up to 750k, which I would say has to ring some alarm bells if you're looking to enter the area as well. Yeah. And then if you see Warwick Residence, there haven't been that many resale transactions yet. But this is a data point that we have to look at because 75% of owners here have actually lost money so far. Yeah, and if we see the only three-bedder owner here that has made money has made 48,000. Yeah, and then the rest of the owners already have lost up to 500,000 in general. So of course, sometimes it can be very easy to buy, but you have to look at the exit strategy. I think that was very important, and also whether the resale developments are making money or not.
Correct.
Yeah. So I would say that.
For that, we'll
Yeah.
give it a 2 out of 5 rating.
Yeah. So because this one we still don't have much clarity over confidence in the sense of the resale developments nearby. Yeah. But of course, not everyone is looking for exit strategy lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
People
just-
who are buying W, probably they're looking more for the appeal of the luxury and the environment as well of a branded residence.
Okay, so in summary, if we total up the different attributes for the 5 developments, we have a clear winner. I think Upper House deserves the highest rating compared to the rest. We give it a 20.5.
Out of 25 lah.
Out of 25, yes. And then followed by Robertson Opus, which is a 20. Okay, and then Promenade Peak, then River Green, and lastly is W Residences. So we have come to the end of our video. Thank you for watching. So when we have more information on the individual projects, we will dive more deeper into the discussion topic. Yeah.
Yeah, and we will also put our contacts in the description. So feel free to DM us if you're looking for more information about the projects.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you in our next video and also for the upcoming launches.
Okay,
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.